quick update on tonight's top story, which Rachel Maddow will flesh out at the top of the hour. Andrea Mitchell's report, quoting two unidentified Barack Obama advisors, is saying Senator Hillary Clinton is being considered for Secretary of State. First response from the Obama team tonight, spokesman Tommy Beater, and it is not very substantial. We're just declining comment on all speculation like this. Here in the United States, Darth Vader must ultimately relinquish his power if that doesn't apply elsewhere in the universe. And in our number one story in the countdown, so it begins with Vice President Cheney meeting with his successor, the Vice President-elect, Joe Biden. And if Cheney is Darth, Biden's Obi-Wan? I was. Anyway, the current Vice President and Lynn Cheney welcomed the Bidens to the official residence on the grounds of the Naval Observatory in Northwest Washington. Biden said, "How are you, Mr. Vice President?" Cheney answered, "Good to see you, Joe." Cheney's spokeswoman said that the visit would include a private meeting and a tour of the residence. It was intended to be more of a social call with dinner. You will recall that during his debate with Governor Palin, Senator Biden said that Cheney was, quote, "the most dangerous vice president we've had probably in American history." Vice President Cheney has opined that the role of his successor is open to question, despite the precedent set by Mr. Cheney. "I'm reluctant to say it's a trend," Cheney said in an interview last March. "If you look at the history of the office, it can go either way." Sure, and it's much easier to grab non-existent vice presidential authority if you turn a blind eye to the Constitution and serve a compliant and complicit president, and every once in a while shoot the gun in the wrong direction. Let's turn now to my colleague, Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rach.
Hi, Keith.
I know this is a ridiculous question, but I would think it is the one most likely to appear in the mind of my viewer or yours. Are we sure Cheney's going to go peaceably?
Well, I mean, there's this patented cockamamie Cheney idea that the vice presidency is not part of the executive branch. So that's never really been tested as an idea before. Who knows what he thinks his responsibilities are during the handover to a new president? Maybe he thinks he gets to stay. We don't, you know, there was something a little alarming that happened this week, and it was way off the beaten path. But the new Plum book came out, which is the list of all the political appointments for the new administration. And under the section for the vice president's office, for the new administration, it did describe the vice presidency as not being part of the executive branch. I'm assuming it was a cut and paste thing from the last one, but it sent a shiver down my spine.
Well, maybe he can just stay out there on the porch and wait for something to happen. About the meeting tonight, given the past 8 years, is this in a way the most important vice presidential transfer of power in recent history, and will the full exposure of, Cheney-inspired executive power overreach take years from now?
Well, we've never had a vice presidency like this before, and so now Joe Biden, sort of all eyes on him in terms of what he can do. Power doesn't contract very easily. Power isn't, if it's like a rubber band, it's like a really old, dried out rubber band, and once things get expanded, they don't really contract on their own once you let them go. And our system of government is based on law, but it's also based on precedent, and because nobody shoved Cheney back in his constitutional box as he took on all these new powers for himself, Joe Biden is left with a hugely powerful office that hasn't really been tested in terms of its legal precedent, that the governmental precedent is all bad in terms of how big the executive power grant is. And it's hard to imagine politicians making their own office less powerful, but that's sort of what Biden needs to do if he wants to do right by the country and the Constitution.
I know this is a different set of circumstances, obviously a different period of time, but they did manage to corral the vice presidency after Aaron Burr decided it was a launch pad to become like emperor of another transcontinental country that was supposed to fill up the southern half of the United States. So there's some hope there.
We have to start the campaign now. Cheney equals Burr.
That's it.
That's right.
Well, the guns and everything else, and everything but the duel. The former vice president, Al Gore's chief of staff, is back in the news. Ron Klain was chosen as the next vice president's chief of staff. Is there more than just, hey, this guy's had the job before? Is this some sort of recognition that Al Gore might have been the best model for VP in modern times?
That's exactly how I read it, that this was setting up a flare gun to say, this is what a vice presidency was supposed to be like. I mean, Al Gore did actually get stuff done as vice president, more than just going to funerals. Al Gore got a lot done. The whole reinventing government thing is one of the great unsung accomplishments of the Clinton era. And he didn't set the Constitution went on fire in order to do it. I thought the Ron Klain choice, even though I'm not a fan of all these Clinton folks ending up in the Obama transition necessarily in principle, I thought the Ron Klain choice had a nice poetic justice to it.
And you mentioned Senator Clinton. I understand. I know that you'll have Andrea Mitchell at the top of your hour, but I would be remiss if I did not take the opportunity to sound you out on the prospect of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
I am very surprised by this leak. I'm surprised but that it's a leak because it makes it very hard to now not offer it to her. But if there's one thing that Hillary Clinton hit Obama on during the primary season, it was her disagreeing with him about diplomacy and foreign affairs. So it would be a very surprising move. Very, very, very surprising.
Plus, you could never send her to Kosovo and anybody maintain a straight face. Not to be hypercritical again of the senator, but that
she
would
would just
be a
have to go by boat. She couldn't land on a tarmac anywhere.
Rachel, I'm sorry I'm out of time because if I don't get the show off the air, it's straight up at the top of the hour. The 9 o'clock host beats the crap out of me.
Yeah, she's awful.
That's countdown for this, the 2000th, 24th day since the declaration of mission accomplished in Iraq. I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck. And our MSNBC coverage continues now with the Rachel Maddow Show. Hi again.
Hi again, Keith, and thank you. And thank you at home for staying with us for this hour. Mostly so far, I have been interested in the fact that the Obama transition folks have been leaking to the press like a sieve, unlike they ever did on the campaign. This has been new during the transition. But tonight, they leaked something interesting enough on its own right to make some real big headlines. Barack Obama is reportedly considering Hillary Clinton for Secretary of State. That bombshell from Andrea Mitchell tonight, who will be here in just a moment to tell us all about it.